I think what I like the most about stealth games is... life starts to make more sense when you realise that everyone wants to be a ninja. And by proxy, every video game wants to be just that little bit like Metal Gear. There were stealth games before 1998, but there's definitely been an increase in video games that think they can go some way towards emulating it. However, good stealth, like good horror, requires planning and attention to detail. Cutting corners can be terminal. Of course, the problem isn't with stealth itself. Build your game in the right way so it accommodates this style of gameplay, or if you just give the player a choice of approaches and everything should go well. Shoehorning stealth sections into games that clearly weren't designed with slow, methodical progression in mind, and don't be surprised if these moments end up being the worst thing about your game. They probably didn't need to be there, and now you've got something stupid in your game. Not really worth it, is it? With stealth gameplay being the coveted prize that it is apparently, sometimes you'll end up in a situation where, I don't know, let's say you get captured, but it doesn't take that long before you're back doing whatever counts as normal gameplay. Star Fox Adventures, with its infinite wisdom, decides that it'll be really fun to have you captured and thrown in a prison cell with all your equipment taken away, leaving you to plan a daring escape that will risk your life, but what choice do you have? Just kidding, it's over in 5 minutes. So what's the point then? It's technically a stealth section. If you keep your brain in your shoe, you can get caught and thrown back in jail, but for how much of a song and dance the game made about it, it's all over hilariously quickly. It's like, oh no, you've had your magical stuff taken away, whatever will you do? It's literally in the next fucking room guarded by a sleepy dinosaur. All of this nets you a disguise so you can walk amongst the bad guys without alerting them, but beyond that, any semblance of stealth is abandoned. Probably for the best. Extrapolate this over a whole level and won't go well. More security needed, methinks. 2001 was one hell of a year for FPS games. There was Return to Castle Wolfenstein, some obscure series by the name of Halo was up and running, and we saw the application of the Geomod in Red Faction, where you can blow up walls and floors to break the game and sometimes get to a specific area. It's a really interesting mechanic that I'm surprised A, hasn't been used all that often since, and B, wasn't even used all that much in the game. Nah, clearly we should be spending less time blowing up walls and more time crawling through a horrendously designed stealth section. How to bring your campaign to a grinding halt in just a couple of easy steps. Step 1, set up this exciting scenario where you're a part of a revolution and accentuating this with thrilling gunplay. And then step 2, slam the door shut with a stupid stealth section. You find yourself in a science lab without any equipment and naturally you need to sneak around undetected. Would be a piece of cake if the game was designed with this in mind, but you don't get that luxury. You can trigger the alarm by either drawing your weapon, not sure how that works, or by being too close to an enemy, but the problem is that the game never tells you how close is too close. It's a very hard level to navigate and the long loading times between deaths will only serve to make this level even more frustrating. You just try and fight your way through here. It's a noble way to die, but you will die. Good life motto that. Everyone dies eventually. Typically you'll find yourself in a sneaky situation when combat is either impossible or not the best idea. So it makes perfect sense for the character that you're controlling to not be brilliantly equipped for dealing with enemies. Mighty No. 9 decided to give Cool some kind of stun gun because she's not really suited to the kind of balls-to-wall combat that Beck is capable of and actually spends the rest of the game being your monotone assistant. But yeah, give her a chance to stretch her legs, send her to a prison, it'll be loads of fun. Ha ha ha, Mighty No. 9, fun. That's a good one. Criticizing Mighty No. 9 is the kind of activity that loses its appeal over time. After a while it's like punching a tree. Might be satisfying to some, but you can't get away from the fact that you are still punching a tree. Cool's stun gun limits her attacking options, but all you need to do is collect keycards to open doors. Alerting enemies doesn't even do all that much. Then the problems shift from the level being awkwardly too easy to just plain awkward. Putting you in a room full of enemies that you need to defeat in order to progress might have worked when you had different weapons and somewhat fluid combat, but trying it again with something as stilted as shooting a stun gun occasionally, not really playing to anyone's strengths. I would have preferred it if this part was harder and this bit wasn't even there. It's all about enemy avoidance. Why would you throw enemies in my face? Games from the Uncharted franchise know how to get the player engaged from the very start. Definitely more adept at setting the right tone than most games. You're going to be spending a generous helping of hours shooting bad guys and hunting for treasure. Probably shouldn't spend the start of it filing taxes. So yeah, Uncharted 2 starts off with Nathan Drake waking up wounded inside a derailed train, which is also not the right way up and you need to grapple your way around it so you can not die. Great stuff, can't wait to see where the game goes next. How about a really slow stealth level in a game that wasn't built for stealth? Oh, that sounds wonderful. The idea of a tutorial level, if you really want your game to have one, is that you get important info about gameplay out quickly. You tell the player what they're doing and don't waste time. Especially don't send them to museum where you're gonna teach them skills that they're never gonna use again. I would count that as wasting time. Did you know that human saliva has a boiling point 3 times that of water? What, that's irrelevant to the point of discussion? Then explain to me why a loud action shooty McBang game needs to start by teaching you how stealth works, even though reusing this very slow style of gameplay in the rest of the game is naturally impossible, especially given the speed and open plan nature of a lot of the set pieces. I like the setting, and Nathan Drake stealing an artifact from somewhere that isn't knee-deep in cobwebs and strange zombies is a refreshing change, but all this level does is ram home how much of a dick the British villain is. I've seen movies before, I didn't trust a word that fell out of his mouth. All of this, and this, and this, for an old lamp? Yeah, I'll pass, thanks. So we've tried breaking into a prison, which ended up being tedious and unfinished, like most of Mighty No. 9, but let's see if breaking out of a prison is any better. Yeah, it'll be like Shawshank. I'd run through brick walls to hang out with Morgan Freeman. Let's see if Lost Odyssey can do something like that. Okay, maybe not. My favourite parts of RPGs is where we stop being an RPG and start being something that no RPG should be. Getting captured in Lost Odyssey isn't in itself a problem, sadly it's getting out that's fucking asinine. You're trying to avoid these weird iRobot things that send you back to jail when they see you, regardless how far through this sequence you are. Having a fixed camera angle doesn't help, and sometimes it feels like there wasn't a lot you could have done differently when getting caught by the robots. Plus, when you do get caught, you've got to listen to the screeching alarm, wait for the cutscene where you're let out to load, and then try and get all the way back to where you were caught. That last stretch though, fuck man, 3 of these eyeballs in such close proximity. You know, jail is comfy. You can get away with an awful lot of shit when dealing with memory flashbacks. Stories don't have to make a ton of sense, you can screw around with reality since you're reenacting a memory, and I guess you can have stealth sections? Maybe since there's a disconnect from the story, you can have something that doesn't fit within the main style of gameplay. That's a justification, just not really applicable. Do you ever find yourself looking at your parents' grave and reminiscing about that one stealth section that was locked away deep in the farthest corner of your mind? No, me neither. Anyway, young Lucas needs to make it from his house on this army base to a hangar where his friends are dicking about, since said hangar is about to explode. The trip shows just how poorly set up Indigo Prophecy is for stealth. Hiding behind rocks and watching for the sightlines of soldiers is made way harder since the camera is kinda fixed, so you'll be spotted by someone you could have never seen. Even worse, the amount of time it takes to beat this short segment seriously kills any momentum the plot had at this stage. The point of flashbacks is that they're supposed to be short and get the point across quickly. All I've learned is that this kid was terrible at being sneaky. Also, his friends were dicks, but whatever, they can burn for all I care. On the flip side, the end of this stealth section does a great job of implementing what you're capable of during the flashback back into the story. So should you save all your friends, you take the pride back into the present. Should you let loads of them die, you feel depressed as all hell. Personally, I just felt relieved. Playing Hotline Miami sent me into a trance. I got through it in one afternoon, and as the world was moving around me, I was focusing intently on getting through these levels as efficiently as possible. I don't remember going to the toilet at all, but hey, that's what bottles are for. How do you piss in a bottle while in a trance? The same way you get better at Hotline Miami. You practice. Trial and improvement in a fast-paced action setting is pretty gratifying. Feels like you're making progress even when you kind of aren't. But hey, this is too fun, time to slow things down a bit. Ooh, imagine the conversation that had the phrase, "How about we make a level where you don't kill anyone in this game about gratuitously killing everyone?" There's few more effective ways of bringing a player out of a rhythm than slowing down the game considerably and throwing you into a situation where you can't die, but goddamn can you get caught. Your character's in hospital for some reason, no idea what Hotline Miami's about, and so in trying to escape, not only do you have to deal with guard patrols, but also this weird visual effect. I get the point of all of this, and maybe this is the best way of playing out this scene, but the fun of previous levels has been traded out for discomfort and frustration, and I'm not happy about it. What kind of blow to the head made this level seem like a good idea? If you ever feel like your actions were misguided in any way, just remind yourself from time to time that the team behind last year's The Order 1886 legitimately felt like they were working with the future of video games. They made a game that looks amazing, but plays like absolute shit. Well, aside from there being QuickTime events as far as the eye can see, there wasn't anything spectacularly wrong with The Order 1886. It was a dull game with a duller plot and combat that's as inspirational as a block of lard. So clearly what we need to do in order to make things a bit more exciting, other than watching Galahad walking everywhere, that's pretty cool, what we need is a forced stealth section. Yeah, we're so cutting edge, oh, I just cut my finger with the cutting edge, whatever. Sneaking around a garden at least gives you some natural cover, but that can only get you so far. Because this is a super secret no one can know stealth mission, being spotted once is enough to kill you. To combat this, you've got 5 crossbow bolts and a QuickTime event stealth kill. Run out of bolts and you're required to do the kind of sneaky movements that this game just isn't built for. The lack of a radar makes clearing out these guards a mix of luck and memorizing their patrol route, and sorry, but this just isn't all that fun. Maybe more ways to control the situation would be better. If you're going for realism, maybe you can throw rocks to distract guards like in Far Cry. Just anything more than this. Can't even stop to smell the roses. There's 2 types of people in the world. There's the type of person who accepts that Wind Waker is a fabled gift sent from the heavens above, and then there's the type of person who puts hamsters in blenders. Of course this isn't true. There's nothing stopping you from enjoying Wind Waker with a glass of liquefied hamster, and while Wind Waker is one hell of a game, I wouldn't call it flawless by any means. A lot of the problems that other people have I can look past, but there's not many redeemable features surrounding the Forsaken Fortress. For some reason, Zelda games like having stealth sections. No Zelda game has been built from the ground up to accommodate stealth. Explain that to me, someone. We're back at the Uncharted situation, aren't we? First big tutorial level and you spend it learning skills that the game pretty much never uses again. Difference is that in Uncharted you've got a way of dealing with enemies. In Wind Waker you lose your sword before you even set foot in the Forsaken Fortress, so outside of kicking the shit out of your enemies with your shield, because that's a thing, confronting enemies will send you straight to jail. So instead you need to hide in a barrel and slowly, really slowly, sneak past each moblin. Hey, maybe this place isn't so bad after all. If you're trying to encourage player patience, a trait that gamers are notorious for lacking, they won't find a problem with all that sailing. At least you come back here with a sword eventually. Takes half the time and you get to play tennis with Phantom Ganon. Oh yeah, stealth is really the answer here. You know what I hate maybe more than a game that can't handle stealth, forcing the player to be sneaky? Well, lots of things, it's a big world. But I've never been all that fond of games that try and have the bare minimum of what counts as stealth mechanics, see hiding in a barrel in Wind Waker, and then expecting you to deal with some ridiculous obstacle that you can't possibly overcome without prior knowledge. Not good. So with that in mind, let's take a trip to the quirky world of Dreamfall: The Longest Journey, a 10-year-old game for PC and Xbox released at a time where it was okay to have a jerky camera in confined areas. Yeah, okay, just don't have any stealth sections and that won't be a problem. What did I just say? Alright, so the Catacombs in Dreamfall is one of those very rare levels that, design-wise, would probably work in any other game, but the mechanics present in this game makes progression an experience akin to gouging a tooth out with a spoon. Even without the nauseating camera angles to deal with, you've also got two different enemy types to negotiate with. There's the dopey trolls that didn't pose much of a threat before taking a trip down here, but now act as annoyingly persistent sentries. Should they see you, which is kind of a crapshoot since their AI is terrible, they bring along their bigger brother. Oh, camera angles, I remember you! You were a problem when this was a slow stealth game, but now you're causing problems when this giant hulking monster shows up, gives you a jarring scream and kills you in a couple of hits. What you're doing down here is screwing around with a bunch of puzzles which you need to examine and do something with while trying to avoid the little trolls and then probably the big troll, and you know, I'm starting to think this probably isn't worth it. Lara Croft never had to put up with this kind of shit. This has been RabbidLuigi, and what makes Dreamfall such an interesting and potentially inspiring video game is that the main character April is a completely ordinary person. She hasn't got any special skills or magic powers, she just has to make the most of every situation as it comes. It's quite hard to make the most out of being chased by angry trolls though. In a situation like that, any special skill would have helped her immensely. Seriously, if you let her see through walls, problem solved. Hey guys, thanks for watching. This video was born out of a topic that kept finishing second in those top 5 polls I run every week. Effectively just a way of saying, fuck you, I'll make it anyway. I keep any topics that don't win a poll in rotation for other weeks, but I was keen on this one. Strike while the iron is hot and all that. Anyway, bit of a tangent to go on, but I've been fiddling with my internet options and against most odds, I think I found a way to play Overwatch, which I've been wanting to do since it came out. And yeah, I'm sure it's great, but I'll be mostly pursuing this because I want to make a video about it. I'll keep you posted on that. Could be fun times ahead.